My girlfriend flew to Miami to party on a yacht with a crypto guy she'd been DMing for months, then called me her little computer nerd for being mad about it. When I confronted her, she ruffled my hair and said, "I could have stayed in Miami, but I came back to Jersey for you." I just stared at her. That was a year ago. This morning, she was pumping gas into a beat-up Civic in baggy sweats, shoulders hunched like she wanted to disappear. My ex Ashley thought our relationship was charity work. Every time we went somewhere together, she'd find ways to remind me I'd never find someone like her again. It started with her introducing me as just a friend at bars. When guys hit on her, she'd let them buy her drinks, then mention she had a boyfriend after. "You should see their faces when I point to you," she'd laugh later. The shock is hilarious. The worst was when she just disappeared one Saturday. No text, nothing. Then I saw her Instagram story, Ashley on some yacht, wearing basically a string bikini, sitting on some guy's lap while he popped champagne. Videos of her dancing with a bunch of rich dudes, them doing body shots off her stomach. Best day ever, with location tag, Miami Beach. We live in Jersey. When she came back Sunday night, sunburnt and hungover, I was furious. "Where the F were you?" She rolled her eyes. "Tom invited me to his yacht party last minute. It was a networking opportunity. Tom was some crypto guy who'd been DMing her for months." "You went to Miami without telling me?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "It was last minute, babe. These chances don't come often." When I showed her the videos of her grinding on those guys, she shrugged. "It's a boat thing. Everyone was dancing. Don't be so uptight." "You're in a relationship," I yelled. "Yeah, and I came back, didn't I?" She ruffled my hair like I was a child. "I could have stayed in Miami. Tom has this insane condo. He wanted to fly me to Ibiza next week." She pinched my cheek. "But I came back to Jersey, to my little computer nerd, my anxious overthinker who's mad about a boat party." She kicked off her heels and collapsed on my bed. I looked past all these red flags with rose-colored glasses until the one-year anniversary incident happened. I planned everything perfectly, just for her on our anniversary. Flowers in hand, champagne in my car, reservation at her favorite restaurant. I was about to knock on her apartment door to surprise her when I heard voices through her open window. Ashley and her friends, all Instagram model types who made fun of me whenever they visited. "Ash, I still don't get it," her friend Jenna was saying. "Why are you with him? You could have literally anyone." I stepped closer to the window, still holding the roses like an idiot. Ashley laughed. "You want to know a secret? He'll never leave me. Ever. I could do anything and he'd take it. I have complete freedom. I go to Miami, he waits. I hang with my exes, he deals with it. Tom keeps flying me places. Brad takes me to dinner. But this one," she laughed again, "he worships me. Like actually worships me." "But don't you want someone better?" another voice asked. "Eventually, yeah. But you know how Brad destroyed my confidence when he cheated with that bartender? This one looks at me like I'm God. He tells me I'm perfect every morning. Begs me not to leave him. I need that right now." I heard them all giggling. "Once I feel like myself again, I'll find someone on my level. But for now, he's exactly what my ego needs. Like therapy, but free." They all burst out laughing. I stood there, flowers in hand, and knew something had to change. She needed me for her ego, time to take away her supply. I spent the next 2 weeks planning exactly how to destroy what Brad had already cracked. Thursday night, I sat at my computer for 3 hours, setting up the perfect fake Instagram account. I picked the name NJ Gossip Watch and used some stock photo of Newark's skyline as the profile pic. I spent time following all of Ashley's friends, the bars she went to every weekend, and Tom's whole crew of crypto bros. I posted 10 generic photos of Newark nightlife I found online, backdated them over the past few weeks to make the account look real. Friday came, and Ashley texted me she'd be late to our dinner at Fornos. I sat there for 40 minutes drinking water and watching the door, while the waiter kept asking if I wanted to order. She finally walked in, wearing this tight red dress I'd never seen before. She sat down and immediately started scrolling through her phone, barely looking at me. She turned her screen toward me, showing some DM from a random guy calling her a goddess, then another one saying she was perfection. She kept showing me these messages like I should be impressed that other guys wanted her. Between our appetizer and main course, she mentioned Tom wanted to fly her to Art Basel next month. She asked if I minded since it was just for networking. I smiled and told her it sounded amazing, and she deserved opportunities like that. She reached over and patted my hand like I was a little kid who'd given the right answer. After dinner, she wanted to stop by Brass Monkey for drinks. Rachel was working the bar and gave us this look when we walked in, like she knew something was up. Ashley immediately walked over to a group of guys in suits near the pool table and started talking to them. I heard her introduce me as her friend from work. One of the finance bros was already drunk and asked Ashley loud enough for everyone to hear why she was with me when she could have anyone. Ashley laughed and said I was like a puppy, loyal and harmless and always happy to see her. The whole group laughed while I stood there holding her purse. Saturday morning, I woke up alone in my apartment. I checked Instagram and Ashley had already posted from brunch in Montclair with Jenna and Tom. The caption said, "Surround yourself with people who match your energy," with a sparkle emoji. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus saying phase 1 was ready when I was. I opened my laptop and logged into the NJ Gossip Watch account. I had the perfect photo Rachel had sent me from last week of Ashley kissing Tom at Brass. I posted it with the caption about a local influencer getting cozy with a crypto bro even though she had a boyfriend. Within an hour, the post had 40 comments and people were already sharing it. Ashley's follower count started going up and down as people figured out who the post was about. She hadn't seen it yet since she never checked accounts without blue checks. Around noon, Jenna must have shown Ashley the post because my phone started ringing non-stop. Ashley was screaming about some stalker posting lies about her online. I played played the concerned boyfriend, told her I'd report the account and not to worry about stupid gossip. That night, she showed up at my apartment in tears, something I'd never seen before. She kept saying if brands saw this, they'd drop her and her reputation would be ruined. I held her while she cried and quietly took screenshots of her saying her brand deals mattered more than anything else, including our relationship. 2 days passed with Ashley posting crying selfies and rants about online bullies before I decided it was time for round 2. Sunday afternoon, I grabbed my phone and logged into the fake account, scrolling through Rachel's photos until I found the perfect one. Ashley leaving Brass with some guy in a suit from 3 weeks ago, her hand on his chest, both of them laughing. The timestamp showed 2 a.m. when she'd told me she was home with a headache. I uploaded it with a caption about her having different flavors every night and watched the likes start rolling in within minutes. Ashley must have been checking her phone constantly because her response came fast. She started posting old couple photos of us, ones from months ago at the shore, at her cousin's wedding, anywhere we'd looked happy together. The captions were desperate, talking about true love and not believing rumors and how jealous people try to tear down success. The comments section turned brutal immediately, with people calling her fake, asking about Tom, asking about the yacht, tagging me to ask if I knew what was happening. Someone posted screenshots comparing her lovey posts to the gossip account photos, pointing out the timeline didn't add up. Monday morning, my phone rang while I was getting ready for work, and Derek's name popped up on the screen. I answered, and he immediately asked what was going on with these posts about Ashley. I played confused, told him Ashley said someone was stalking her and making up lies, that I was trying to help her figure out who it was. Derek went quiet for a moment, then admitted his sister had always been careless about how she treated people. He said maybe this was karma catching up, but he hoped she'd learn from it. Tuesday, I met Marcus at a coffee shop in Journal Square where he slid into the booth looking stressed. He told me Tom was getting nervous about all the attention, that his investors didn't like drama and were asking questions about his personal life. We talked about the next phase while I stirred my coffee, discussing how to make sure Tom and Brad both knew about each other since Ashley had been playing them both for months. Marcus said he could handle Tom's side through their Telegram group while I figured out Brad. Wednesday, I posted another photo, this one showing Ashley at some rooftop bar with Brad's arm around her, dated 2 weeks ago when she'd supposedly been at her mom's house. Thursday, I sent anonymous messages from a burner email to both Tom and Brad, telling them Ashley would be at Brass alone that night looking for comfort after her boyfriend left her. Friday morning changed everything when Ashley showed up at my office building. I was walking through the lobby with my coffee when I heard her screaming my name from the entrance. She pushed past the security desk and ran toward me, her face red and twisted with rage. She started yelling that she knew I was behind the account, that I was trying to ruin her life because I was pathetic and jealous. People stopped to stare as she grabbed my shirt, shaking me while screaming about how I'd never find anyone better than her. Security guards pulled her off me and started dragging her toward the exit while she kept screaming threats and insults. The timing of these posts is really making me wonder about his actual motivations here. He says he wants to destroy her ego, but spending 3 hours making a fake account seems like there's something deeper going on beneath all this careful planning. My co-workers stood frozen in the lobby, some recording on their phones, others just staring in shock. 20 minutes later, my boss called me into his office, closed the door, and asked if everything was okay at home. I told him Ashley and I were having problems, and I was sorry about the scene. He said he understood breakups were hard, but I couldn't have that drama affecting the workplace. After the work incident, I texted Ashley that I needed space to think about our relationship. Her response came in waves over the next 3 days, starting with rage texts calling me pathetic, weak, a loser who'd die alone, then switching to desperate apologies, begging me not to leave, promising she'd change, saying she loved me. Her Instagram stories showed a different story though, partying every single night at different clubs, clearly drunk in most of them, surrounded by random guys trying to prove she didn't need me. Rachel texted me Wednesday night with updates from the bar, saying Ashley had been there every night that week getting blackout drunk and crying about her ruined reputation. According to Rachel, Ashley was telling anyone who would listen that I was trying to destroy her because I couldn't handle her success, that I was jealous of her lifestyle and the attention she got from other men. Thursday came, and I knew Ashley would be at Brass like clockwork since it was ladies' night. I made sure both anonymous tips to Tom and Brad mentioned she'd be there alone and vulnerable, needing someone to comfort her after her controlling boyfriend had abandoned her. That night, I sat at home refreshing Instagram, waiting for the explosion I knew was coming. The first video appeared around 11 p.m. showing Tom walking into Brass, then 5 minutes later, another showing Brad arriving. Someone was live streaming when the confrontation started, Tom approaching Ashley at the bar just as Brad came up from the other side. You could hear Tom's voice over the music calling her a professional gold digger, saying she'd been playing him for months, taking his money while living with her boyfriend. Brad jumped in, revealing she'd been sexting him their entire relationship, sending him nudes while I was at work, telling him she was only with me for stability until she found something better. Ashley tried to deny it, but both guys had receipts, Tom showing Telegram messages, Brad showing texts, both comparing dates and times. The crowd formed a circle as the argument got louder, Ashley crying and trying to leave, but Tom blocking her path, demanding she pay back the money he'd spent on on her. More videos kept appearing from different angles. Someone caught Brad throwing a drink in Ashley's face. Another showed her trying to slap Tom before security stepped in. By midnight, the videos were all over Newark social media, shared in every local Facebook group, posted on the Newark subreddit, spreading through Instagram stories. Ashley's follower count started dropping in real time, going from 47,000 to 42,000 overnight as people unfollowed in waves. Brands started unliking her sponsored posts, removing their tags, distancing themselves from the drama. She called me at 3 a.m., sobbing so hard I could barely understand her, begging me to make it stop, saying her life was ruined, but I let it go to voicemail. Saturday morning, Marcus forwarded me a screenshot from Tom's Telegram where he'd written that his psycho ex had cost him 2 investors who saw the videos and didn't want to be associated with the drama. The weekend hit different when you're watching someone's life fall apart in real time. I sat in my apartment Saturday morning scrolling through my phone as Ashley's texts kept coming, each one nastier than the last, threatening to call my boss, to tell everyone I was some kind of stalker, to make sure I never got another job in tech again. My phone buzzed with an Instagram notification from Jenna saying Ashley was losing it and planning something bad, that she'd been talking crazy about me all morning at their brunch spot. I put my phone down and tried to focus on work, but kept checking social media where more videos from the bar kept surfacing, each one making Ashley look worse as people added their own stories about times she'd used them or treated them like dirt. Sunday morning, someone knocked on my door, and when I opened it, Derek was standing there looking exhausted, saying he'd seen all the videos and had no idea his sister had been treating people this way for years. He sat on my couch and explained how their parents had been paying for her apartment, her car, everything while she pretended to be building her modeling career. But after seeing those bar videos and the gossip posts, they were cutting her off completely because their dad's business partners were asking questions. Derek looked genuinely sorry as he told me Ashley had been doing this since high school, using guys for validation while their family made excuses for her behavior. But this time she'd gone too far, and even they couldn't defend her anymore. That night around midnight, I heard pounding on my door and Ashley's voice screaming that I'd ruined everything, trying to push past me when I cracked the door open, completely wasted and yelling so loud that my neighbor across the hall called the cops while another neighbor filmed everything on their phone. When the police showed up, Ashley tried telling them I'd been stalking her, but she was slurring her words so bad and stumbling around that they just looked at each other and asked if I wanted to press charges for harassment. The next morning, an officer came back with paperwork for a restraining order, telling me I should file it for my own protection, since these situations tend to get worse before they get better, and handed me a case number for the incident report. Monday at work, my boss pulled me into his office saying Ashley had called HR claiming I was harassing her, but I showed him the police report from the night before, screenshots of her threatening texts, and the video my neighbor had sent me of her pounding on my door drunk, so he just nodded and said HR would handle it from their end. Marcus came over that night and helped me organize everything into folders on my laptop, all the screenshots of her texts admitting she'd been using me, Rachel's photos from the bar, the police reports, the threatening messages, everything dated and backed up to the cloud just in case. He kept reminding me that I wasn't trying to destroy her, just protecting myself and removing myself from her chaos, which helped when I started feeling guilty about everything that was happening. Tuesday morning, NJ Gossip Watch posted their biggest story yet, with the title, The Rise and Fall of a Newark Influencer, including the bar fight videos, screenshots someone had sent them of Ashley calling me her puppy in group chats, and comments from a dozen people sharing their own stories about how she'd used them over the years. The post went viral locally with over 10,000 shares by noon, and that's when Ashley completely lost it and posted photos of me on her Instagram that she'd taken when we were together. Private photos I didn't even know she had, calling me abusive and controlling in the captions, even though anyone could see from the timeline that she was lying. Rachel saw them first and screenshotted everything before Ashley deleted them an hour later, probably when someone told her she'd just committed a crime by posting revenge porn. But by then, Rachel had already sent me the evidence and told me to call a lawyer immediately. 2 days later, I walked into the Newark police station with Rachel's screenshots printed out and my lawyer beside me. The detective took one look at the evidence and shook his head while filling out the report. He said charges would definitely be filed since the metadata proved Ashley posted them herself. That same afternoon, Tom's whole world fell apart when the SEC showed up at his WeWork space in Jersey City. They seized computers and boxes of documents while everyone in the building watched through the glass walls. Ashley's name kept coming up because of all the trips and gifts he gave her. She wasn't getting arrested for that, but everyone in her circle knew she was connected to the mess. Brad texted me that night asking if we could talk. We met at a diner off Route 3 and he looked exhausted. He told me Ashley played us both and that when he cheated on her, he created a monster. Said she'd been trying to hurt everyone else the way he hurt her. I went back to work Monday morning trying to act normal, but everyone already knew. People stopped talking when I walked by the break room. My boss said my work was fine, but I could tell he was worried about the drama. I ate lunch at my desk, watching my coworkers whisper about me through the office windows. Part of me wondered if this whole revenge thing was even worth it anymore. Then Ashley's parents called my phone while I was driving home. Her mom was crying and apologizing for everything their daughter had done. She admitted they always bailed Ashley out instead of making her face consequences. Her dad got on the phone and offered to pay for any legal fees or damages. I told him I didn't want money, but they needed to get Ashley professional help. He agreed and and said she wasn't evil, just broken and breaking everyone around her. A week passed, and then Jenna posted this huge Instagram story exposing everything about Ashley. She showed receipts of Ashley buying followers and faking brand deals, screenshots of Ashley lying about designer clothes that were actually knockoffs from China. The whole influencer scene in North Jersey basically blacklisted her after that. Marcus called me panicking because Ashley showed up at his apartment looking for me. He started recording on his phone when she offered him $500 for information about where I was staying. She admitted on camera that she did everything but said I made her act crazy. Why's Derek showing up now to apologize when his sister's been doing this for years, according to him? His whole family knew about her behavior but kept funding it, and suddenly they care when it affects their dad's business partners? He sent me the video and my lawyer added it to our case file. The restraining order hearing happened 3 days later and the judge granted it immediately. Ashley had to stay 500 feet away from me and my workplace. She lasted exactly 23 hours before sending emails from fake accounts begging me to talk. My lawyer called the police and they picked her up that night for violating the order. The revenge porn charges were already pending, so now she had 2 cases against her. Her mugshot ended up on those local crime blogs that everyone reads. The girl who cared more about her image than anything was now publicly labeled a criminal. 3 days later, I sat in a therapist's office staring at a box of tissues while she asked me how I felt about everything. My company's health insurance covered 6 sessions, and HR strongly suggested I use them after the whole restraining order thing. The therapist kept saying stuff about cycles of hurt and how revenge doesn't heal wounds, but I mostly just nodded and watched the clock. Rachel texted me that afternoon asking if we could meet at a coffee shop near her apartment. When I got there, she looked exhausted and showed me screenshots on her phone of messages from Ashley's friends calling her a snitch and worse. She said she didn't regret helping me, but hadn't expected things to get this crazy. We sat there for an hour, going over what the prosecutor told us about testifying if this went to trial. That night, Derek sent me a long text about how Ashley was living with their parents now and had to wear an ankle monitor. He said she'd deleted all her social media accounts and spent most days in bed crying. She kept telling everyone I'd ruined her life and wouldn't accept that she'd done anything wrong. My boss called me into his office the next morning and suggested I take a week off to let things calm down. The company was being supportive, but some clients had seen the news coverage and were asking questions. I spent that week looking at apartments online because my place had too many memories of Ashley everywhere. I started packing boxes and found all the gifts she'd given me over the year we dated. The watch she bought with money Tom gave her for her birthday trip to Vegas. The shirt she picked out because she said it would make me look less like a computer nerd. The cologne she insisted I wear because her ex Brad used to wear it. I threw everything into donation bags and drove them to Goodwill that afternoon. 2 weeks later, I had to show up at the courthouse for Ashley's hearing about violating the restraining order. She walked in wearing a designer dress and heels like she was going to a club instead of court. Her lawyer stood up and told the judge she was suffering from mental health issues and needed treatment, not punishment. The judge looked at Ashley's record, saw the previous violations, and scheduled another hearing for the following month. That same week, Jersey Tea, this local gossip blog everyone reads, published a whole article about Ashley. They'd interviewed 3 of her exes and a bunch of former friends who all told similar stories. She'd love bomb people, use them for money or connections, then ghost them when someone better came along. The pattern went back to high school, according to one girl who said Ashley had stolen her boyfriend, then dumped him a week later. Marcus came over that weekend to help me move to my new apartment in Harrison. We loaded boxes into his truck, and he finally admitted he'd made fake accounts to share and comment on the NJ Gossip Watch posts. He said watching Ashley treat me like garbage for a year had pissed him off, and he wanted to make sure everyone saw who she really was. The new place was smaller, but it didn't have memories of Ashley in every corner. Ashley's lawyer called me the next week about a plea deal they wanted to offer. If I agreed to ask for reduced charges, she'd plead guilty to the restraining order violation and accept probation plus mandatory therapy. The prosecutor said it was my choice, but recommended taking it because trials are unpredictable, and this guaranteed some consequences. I met with the prosecutor at her office to go over everything, and she pulled out a thick folder with Ashley's name on it. There were police reports from high school where she'd threatened a girl who dated her ex, college records showing 2 restraining orders that got dropped when the guys' families didn't want to deal with court. The prosecutor said this pattern would keep going until someone finally held Ashley accountable. A week later, my phone buzzed with Jenna's name, and I almost didn't answer since Ashley's friends had been nothing but trouble for me. She sounded different though, worried instead of her usual fake nice voice, and told me Ashley had been calling all her exes from jail, trying to get them to say I was the real abuser. 3 guys had already agreed to sign statements saying I'd threatened them at different bars around Newark, which was complete BS since I'd never even met most of them. The prosecutor wasn't too worried when I called her, but said we needed to handle this fast before it got more complicated. Rachel texted me that same day saying she had something important to show me at the bar where Ashley used to hang out all the time. She pulled up security footage on her laptop from the nights Ashley claimed I'd threatened these guys, and there I was, nowhere near the place. The timestamps showed I was either at work coding or at home playing Xbox with Marcus, while Ashley was supposedly watching me threaten random dudes. Rachel burned everything to a flash drive and said she'd testify if needed because she was sick of Ashley's lies ruining people. 2 days later, I was grabbing milk at the ShopRite on Springfield Springfield Avenue when I turned the corner and almost crashed my cart into Ashley's mom. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in the past few weeks with dark circles under her eyes and her usually perfect hair all messy. We just stood there for a second before she said we failed her and now everyone's paying for it, then walked away before I could even respond. The prosecutor called me that afternoon with good news because the 3 guys who'd signed statements had all backed out when threatened with perjury charges. One of them, some dude named Kyle, admitted Ashley had offered him $5 grand to lie about me, which added witness tampering to her growing list of charges. The emergency hearing got scheduled for the next morning, and I sat in the back row watching Ashley come in wearing an orange jumpsuit instead of her usual designer clothes. When the judge heard about the witness tampering and saw the evidence of her trying to frame me, he revoked her bail right there on the spot. Ashley started screaming that I'd destroyed an innocent woman while the bailiffs cuffed her, and her parents just sat there looking broken as they watched their daughter get taken back to county. 3 days later, Marcus texted me a link to the Channel 12 evening news with just "holy shit dude" as the message. There was Ashley's mugshot on the screen with the headline, "Instagram influencers fall from grace, a cautionary tale," while the anchor talked about how a local social media personality was facing multiple felony charges. They didn't use my name but called me the victim ex-boyfriend, and everyone who knew us would know exactly who they meant. My phone started blowing up with texts from people I hadn't heard from in years, asking if I was okay and if the story was about Ashley. Tom reached out through his lawyer saying he wanted to help with the case since he was already cooperating with the feds on his own tax stuff. He sent over screenshots of texts where Ashley straight up told him she was using me for stability and free rent while dating other guys for fun and trips. The prosecutor added it to the pile of evidence showing Ashley's pattern of using and manipulating people. I needed to get away from all this crap, so I drove down to my parents' place in South Jersey for the weekend. My mom made her famous lasagna, and we sat at the kitchen table not really talking about it until she finally asked if I felt better now that I got my revenge. I couldn't honestly say yes, because watching someone destroy themselves, even someone who hurt me like Ashley did, didn't feel as good as I thought it would. Back in Harrison, I tried to build new routines to avoid all the places that reminded me of her. Found a new gym across town, started getting coffee from a different shop, took different routes to work just to avoid driving past her old apartment building. I was moving forward with my life while hers kept falling apart, but the victory felt empty somehow. Derek emailed me a PDF with the subject line, "Thought you should see this," and it was Ashley's court-mandated apology letter from her therapy sessions in jail. The whole thing was just her blaming everyone else for her problems, saying Brad broke her when he cheated, her parents enabled her princess complex, and I was vindictive for exposing her instead of just walking away. Not one line taking real responsibility for what she did to me or anyone else she'd hurt over the years. 2 weeks later, I sat in the courtroom watching Ashley shuffle in wearing an orange jumpsuit that made her look washed out and small. Her dark roots were showing through the blonde she'd always kept perfect, and without makeup, her face looked tired and hollow. The judge read through the charges one by one, while she stood there with her hands cuffed in front of her. When he asked how she pleaded to harassment, she said guilty in this tiny voice I'd never heard from her before. Same with the revenge porn charge and the witness tampering. The prosecutor laid out the sentencing agreement they'd reached, and Ashley just nodded along like she was somewhere else entirely. 6 months in jail with time served counting toward it, 2 years probation after that, mandatory therapy sessions twice a week, and no social media accounts for the entire probation period. Her mom's comment about "we failed her" makes me really curious about what kind of childhood created someone who thinks framing people is normal behavior when things don't go their way. She also had to pay me back for my therapy costs and what I'd spent moving to a new place when things got bad. The judge asked if she understood everything, and she just nodded again. After they let her out, Derek caught up with me in the hallway and shook his head. He told me she still didn't get it, that she thought I'd set her up and orchestrated the whole thing to destroy her. I looked him straight in the eye and told him the truth, that yeah, I did plan it, but she gave me every single piece of ammunition I used. He didn't seem surprised. That night, Rachel texted me a picture of Brass looking calm and normal for once. She wrote that the whole place felt different without Ashley's drama, that toxic people create toxic environments, and everyone could feel the change. She'd started dating one of the regular guys there, someone decent who actually treated her right. 3 months into Ashley's sentence, a letter showed up at my new place with the jail's return address. This wasn't like the court-mandated apology Derek had sent me. This one was raw and angry, and somehow more honest than anything she'd ever said to me. She wrote that she'd wanted to break me the same way Brad broke her when he cheated with that bartender. The letter went on for pages about how I'd won, how she was nobody now with no followers, no friends, no future, and even her parents looked at her with disgust. But I wasn't innocent either, she wrote, because I'd planned everything just as carefully as she had, maybe more. I brought the letter to my therapist the next week and admitted she was partially right, that I had planned it and wanted her to suffer for what she'd done. My therapist nodded and pointed out the difference was that I'd stopped, that I was in therapy trying to grow while Ashley was still stuck blaming everyone else. A month later, Brad sent me an email saying he'd been going to therapy too, dealing with his part in creating the mess Ashley became. He admitted he'd cheated because she was already manipulative and controlling, but that definitely made her worse, like pouring gas on a fire that was already burning. Then the news broke about Tom getting convicted of wire fraud and looking at 15 months in federal prison. All those yacht parties and Miami trips Ashley loved so much turned out to be funded by stolen money. People online started talking about how Ashley's whole thing with choosing guys for status over everything else had led her straight to a criminal. Her parents put their Newark house up for sale and moved to Pennsylvania to start over where nobody knew their family's story. Her dad sent me a check for $10,000 with a note asking me not to cash it, to just consider everyone even, and let them all move on with their lives. I stood there holding that check for maybe 10 minutes before walking to my kitchen sink and tearing it into tiny pieces, watching the paper flutter down into the garbage disposal. 6 months crawled by, and work got better since everyone finally stopped whispering about the whole mess. Even got promoted to senior developer, which meant more money and less time to think about everything. Started using dating apps again, but kept finding myself scrolling through their social media, looking for red flags, checking if they had yacht party photos or crypto millionaire friends, basically turning into some paranoid detective before even meeting for coffee. My phone buzzed one morning with a text from Derek saying Ashley got released early for good behavior and was moving to Pennsylvania with their parents, enrolled in some online accounting program, and working at their uncle's tax office doing data entry. 3 weeks later, I'm driving to Boston for a conference and stop at the Joyce Kilmer rest stop on the turnpike to grab coffee when I see her pumping gas into this beat-up Honda Civic, wearing baggy sweats and no makeup with her hair in a messy bun. Our eyes met for maybe 2 seconds before she looked down at the ground and turned her back to me, shoulders hunched like she was trying to disappear, and I just walked into the Starbucks without saying anything. Marcus called me exactly 1 year after everything started and convinced me to meet him at this dive bar near campus where we used to go during college. You both got what you wanted in the weirdest way, he said after his third beer. A friend from college who still followed Ashley's old accounts texted me that she was apparently in intensive therapy 3 times a week, diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder and PTSD from Brad's whole cheating thing years ago. Found myself checking her parents' Facebook pages at night, looking for any mention of her, searching her name on Google to see if anything new came up, until my therapist pointed out I was basically addicted to tracking her life, even though I claimed to hate her. Rachel helped me delete everything one Saturday afternoon, every screenshot, every saved text, every piece of evidence I'd collected, while we drank wine, and she kept saying we needed to stop being archivists of pain. 3 months passed, and I met Sarah at a bookstore where she was buying supplies for her 3rd grade class, this quiet woman who didn't have Instagram or TikTok and thought influencers were people who worked at the CDC. Derek's text came on a Tuesday morning while I was making breakfast, saying Ashley had been in therapy for months and wanted to write me a real apology letter, not the court-ordered one, asking if I'd be willing to read it. I told Derek to send it over, and the envelope arrived 2 days later with no return address. The paper inside was covered in Ashley's handwriting, messier than I remembered, like she'd written and rewritten parts. She started by saying she knew I probably hated her and had every right to. She admitted she'd used me as an emotional punching bag after Brad destroyed her confidence. Every cruel thing she did to me was really about proving she still had power over someone. She wrote about therapy sessions where she finally understood her patterns. Her dad left when she was 7, and she'd been chasing validation through men ever since, using their attention like medicine for wounds that never healed. She said I was the first person who held up a mirror to show her who she'd become, not asking for forgiveness, just wanted me to know she understood the damage now. I sat with that letter for 3 days before writing back. Told her straight up that I'd planned her downfall and enjoyed watching it happen. We'd both become people we shouldn't be proud of. Maybe we could both do better going forward. Derek texted me a week later saying Ashley had cried reading my response. Not the fake tears I knew, but real ones. She was done with social media forever and just wanted to build something real in Pennsylvania. 6 months passed and Sarah and I were solid. She'd met Marcus at game night and they got along great. My new friends didn't know the whole Ashley story and didn't need to. I was finally just me again, not Ashley's ex or the guy from that viral video. Then I ran into Jenna at a coffee shop near Penn Station. She looked different without the Instagram makeup. Told me Ashley was doing good in Pennsylvania, had a few real friends, still in therapy, working at a nonprofit. She's boring now, but I think boring is what she needed. My therapist said we could go down to monthly sessions since I'd processed everything and built better patterns. The Ashley chapter was really closed. Sometimes late at night I'd check if NJ Gossip Watch still existed, but it was gone. Sometimes I wondered if Ashley thought about our mutual destruction. Mostly, I just lived my life. Sarah found an old photo while helping me pack for our new place. Ashley and me at the shore before everything went bad. You both look happy, she said. We were performing happiness. Now I know the difference. That weekend, Marcus, Rachel, Sarah, and I had dinner at this little place in Newark. We raised our beers to new beginnings and hard lessons and the weird ways life teaches you who you really are. Outside, the city kept moving with all its secrets and scandals. Inside, we were just 4 people who survived our 20s with some scars but intact souls. The whole saga was over, not with destruction or fairy tale redemption, but with everyone finding their own version of peace. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks for letting me wonder about all these twists and turns with you. It's been quite a journey asking questions together. See you around. Subscribe for more content like this.